The big day arrived. It was perfect, until Uncle Paul showed up. We had just shared our vows. I was holding my new wife's hands, smiling at her, when I heard the sound of a truck's engine. At first, I thought it was just a random vehicle passing by. But when the truck pulled into the venue and the driver's door swung open, I was shocked to see Uncle Paul. He climbed into the back of the truck and started spraying water at the guests with a high-pressure hose. People screamed as water drenched their clothes, hair, and makeup. "You think you can beat me up? Quit your job just like that and get away with it? Never. It's not that easy, dude." My wife grabbed my arm. She was trembling with fear.
Jordan, what is he doing? I'm scared.
I didn't have time to answer. Uncle Paul jumped back into the driver's seat and revved the engine. The truck lurched forward, heading straight for the crowd. Guests scattered, running for safety. Some tripped over chairs. Others jumped fences to get away. My dad and a few uncles tried to block Paul's path, but he swerved around them, laughing like a maniac. The wedding was in chaos. Decorations were destroyed, tables overturned, and food ruined. When I graduated from university, I had big plans. I wanted to build my career, prove my worth, and make a name for myself. I wanted to do it all on my own terms. But life had a way of throwing curveballs, and mine came in the form of a job offer from my uncle, Paul. Uncle Paul owned a successful company and seemed genuinely eager to help me start my career. At first, I wasn't interested. I didn't like the idea of mixing family and business. It felt risky.
Jordan, this is an opportunity you shouldn't pass up. Paul is family. He'll look out for you.
You need a strong start, and Paul's company is a perfect stepping stone. I didn't share their enthusiasm, but it wasn't just my parents pushing me. Relatives heard about it and gave their own 2 cents during every family gathering.
Paul's company is one of the best. You're lucky to have this chance.
If you don't take it, you'll regret it later. Eventually, I gave in. I figured it wouldn't hurt to try, and I didn't want to disappoint everyone. So, I joined Uncle Paul's company. For the first 2 months, everything was great. Uncle Paul was friendly, encouraging even. He praised my work and made me feel valued. I started to think I'd made the right decision. The environment was professional, and I was learning a lot. But everything changed in the 3rd month. It started with a phone call from my dad. "Your mom's in the hospital." I was shocked and filled with sadness as he explained that she had collapsed earlier that morning. She was stable, but needed to stay in the hospital for observation. I rushed to see her. Seeing her lying in that hospital bed was a mix of relief and heartbreak. She looked so weak, but she was alive. My dad reassured me that the bills had already been covered by the family. At the time, I was just grateful. A week later, Uncle Paul called me into his office. "I heard about your mom. I'm glad she's doing better. By the way, I covered the hospital bills." I was taken aback. Uncle Paul paid? Why didn't anybody tell me? "Thank you, Uncle Paul. I really appreciate it. I'll pay you back as soon as I can." "Don't worry about it. I've already deducted it from your salary." His words felt like a slap in the face. When he started, I thought he was about to tell me not to worry about paying him. What? My entire salary? Family helps family, Jordan. I'm sure you understand. I didn't understand, but I let it slide. He had helped my mom, after all. I wouldn't be an ungrateful person and fight him over that, even though it was worth fighting over. The following month, I waited eagerly for payday. Bills were piling up, and I needed the money. But when payday came, my account was empty. I confronted Uncle Paul. "Why didn't I get paid this month?" "Well, I thought about it, and I realized that it doesn't make sense for me to pay my own nephew. Your family. You should be helping me, not the other way around." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I can't work for free." "I know. You're gaining experience. I've been giving you that for free over the last 3 months. That's worth more than millions of money." I left his office furious. I was done. I decided to quit. But the next day, when I told Uncle Paul about my decision, he laughed. "You can't just leave. There's a policy here. Any employee who wants to resign has to give a 6-month notice. Did you not read the rules book? Were you that desperate for a job?" I was stunned. "I didn't see that in the contract. It's in the fine print. You should have read it carefully." I felt trapped. 6 more months under his thumb felt unbearable. I begged him to at least pay me something during that time. After a lot of back and forth, he agreed to give me half my salary. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. I started looking for other jobs immediately. I applied to every position I could find, but none of them were right. The pay was too low, or the roles didn't match my skills. As the 6 months came to an end, my girlfriend noticed my frustration.
Maybe you should stay. The salary of the jobs you've been seeing are not even up to the half you're receiving from your uncle.
Why would I do that? I can't stay. I don't trust him.
At least it's stable. You're earning something, and you never know. Things might improve.
I hated the idea, but she had a point. Stability was better than nothing, and I hadn't found another job yet. Reluctantly, I told Uncle Paul I would stay. Smart choice, Jordan. You won't regret it. But deep down, I knew I would. I ended up staying at Uncle Paul's company longer than I expected, which was an entire year. To my surprise, it turned out to be a good decision. I gained valuable experience, and the projects I worked on built my confidence. Within that year, I proposed to my girlfriend, and we began planning a wedding. One evening, I told Uncle Paul about my plans to marry her. I expected congratulations, or at least a neutral response, but his reaction shocked me. Marry her? Are you serious? That girl is not wife material. She's loose, Jordan. Disrespectful. I'd know because she tried to seduce me. That doesn't make sense. Why would she do that? Well, because she's not who you think she is. Here, listen to this. Uncle Paul pulled out his phone and played a voice recording. In it, my girlfriend's voice was clear as day, hurling insults at him. I couldn't understand why she'd talk to him that way. She was upset because I wouldn't fall for her games. I thought you should know before you make a mistake. Confused and hurt, I confronted my girlfriend. I didn't tell her about the recording right away, just that Paul had accused her of something unthinkable. My girlfriend immediately denied it. I told her about the recording.
He only has part of the story, Jordan. He tried to seduce me, not the other way around. When I refused, he got angry, and I lost it. I called him every name I could think of. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to cause problems in your family.
And I believed her because his story didn't add up in the first place. I led her to Uncle Paul's office where we confronted him. Uncle Paul tried to deny it at first, but my girlfriend stood her ground, detailing exactly what had happened. Fine, so what if I did? She's beautiful. Can you blame me? I lost it. I lunged at him, punching him mercilessly. I didn't stop until 2 of his employees dragged me off him. I spat on Uncle Paul, told him I quit, and left the building, never to return. My parents were furious when they found out what Uncle Paul had done. For the first time, the entire family sided with me against him. With the support of our families, my girlfriend and I began planning our wedding. I used half of my savings for the event, and our parents chipped in to make it special. Everything seemed to be falling into place. The big day arrived. It was perfect, until Uncle Paul showed up. We had just shared our vows. I was holding my new wife's hands, smiling at her, when I heard the sound of a truck's engine. At first, I thought it was just a random vehicle passing by. But when the truck pulled into the venue and the driver's door swung open, I was shocked to see Uncle Paul. He climbed into the back of the truck and started spraying water at the guests with a high-pressure hose. People screamed as water drenched their clothes, hair, and makeup. You think you can beat me up? Quit your job just like that and get away with it? Never. It's not that easy, dude. My wife grabbed my arm. She was trembling with fear.
Jordan, what is he doing? I'm scared.
I didn't have time to answer. Uncle Paul jumped back into the driver's seat and revved the engine. The truck lurched forward, heading straight for the crowd. Guests scattered, running for safety. Some tripped over chairs. Others jumped fences to get away. My dad and a few uncles tried to block Paul's path, but he swerved around them, laughing like a maniac. The wedding was in chaos. Decorations were destroyed, tables overturned, and food ruined. My wife was crying, and I was shaking with rage. I wanted to stop him, but I knew better than to risk anyone's safety. All I could do was watch as he turned the truck around and sped off, leaving destruction in his wake. My wedding day was ruined. After the wedding disaster, I couldn't stop thinking about what Uncle Paul had done. His cruelty had gone too far, and I couldn't just let it slide. He ruined my wedding, humiliated my wife, and caused chaos in front of my family and friends. Enough was enough. During the 1 year I spent in his company, I learned a lot. Not just about the business, but also about his dirty secrets. A month before I quit, I discovered that Uncle Paul had been engaging in illegal activities. He was selling expired goods by altering their expiry dates. At the time, I didn't confront him. I didn't even let him know I was aware. I quietly gathered as much evidence as I could. Documents, emails, and even photos. I didn't know then that I'd ever use it. But now, it felt like fate had handed me the perfect opportunity for revenge. The next day, I went to the crime office with all the evidence. Uncle Paul's company was well known, so when I presented my findings, the authorities took immediate action. They didn't waste any time. By the end of the day, Uncle Paul was arrested, and an investigation was launched into his company. Here's a revised version with improved grammar and clarity. I wasn't done, though. I made sure the news spread far and wide. I told everyone about his crimes, his attempt to seduce my wife, and how he ruined my wedding. When his wife heard about all this, she filed for divorce and got custody of their daughter as well. Social media, local news outlets, and even word of mouth, all of it painted a picture of the terrible man Uncle Paul truly was. When people saw the videos of my wedding, he was labeled as a crazy boss online. The backlash was immediate. People were disgusted by what they heard. His reputation was shattered, and his name became synonymous with deceit and cruelty. As the investigation continued, more of Uncle Paul's crimes came to light. He had been involved in several illegal activities, from tax evasion to bribing officials. It was a massive scandal that shook the business world. When Uncle Paul finally appeared in court, the evidence against him was overwhelming. The judge didn't hold back. His company was shut down, his business identity destroyed, and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. For the first time in that year, I felt a sense of peace. Uncle Paul had finally gotten what he deserved, and I could focus on my life. A week after Uncle Paul's sentencing, I received an unexpected call. A big company had seen my resume on a job site and wanted to interview me. It felt like a dream. The interview went well, and I got the job. The pay was excellent, the work environment was supportive, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like my career was on the right track. My wife and I used the salary from my new job to start rebuilding our lives. We moved into a better apartment and began preparing ourselves to start having children. Meanwhile, Uncle Paul rotted in jail. He tried reaching out to me through letters, apologizing and begging for forgiveness. I never responded. He didn't deserve me and my wife's forgiveness. I heard Uncle Paul was diagnosed with a rare disease, and his leg had to be amputated. Now in prison, he has only one leg and rarely receives visitors, since the family cut him off after what he had done. A lot of inmates mock and bully him, sometimes even beating him up. He can barely defend himself with just one leg. Thanks for watching.